Two of the most notable roles in a typical dysfunctional family or toxic narcissistic family are the black sheep of the family, otherwise known as the scapegoat, and the golden child. Now, there's always going to be friction between these two roles, and this is usually out of envy that the golden child has towards the black sheep of the family. This never-ending battle between these two roles usually starts at an earlier age when the dysfunctional parents at the top pit these two children against one another to compete for their attention. Okay, so over time, as these children mature, they will essentially still be competing with one another to become the apple of the parent's eye. In this video, we're discussing why the golden child is headed for doom. But before we get into it, I'd like to take a moment to say hello and welcome to everyone. If you're new here, I go by the name Inspired Seeker, and on this channel, we discuss spirituality, personal development, and narcissism. So if any of that appeals to you, then by all means join us, and I promise you will not regret that decision. Now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about why the golden child in a dysfunctional family unit is headed for doom. As I mentioned earlier, the golden child and the black sheep are always going to have friction within the dysfunctional family unit, and even as adults, there will also be some friction because the golden child is secretly competing with the black sheep, while the black sheep is mainly focused on sustaining the family structure. Okay. The golden child is always looking at the black sheep's efforts as competition, although their only intention is to sustain the family. So let's take a look at these two roles. First, let's look at the golden child. The golden child is essentially the perfect child. This is the apple of the dysfunctional parent's eye. This is the child who could do no wrong. This is the child who is being groomed and molded into becoming a representation of the dysfunctional parents. Okay, so throughout their lives, the dysfunctional parents will influence and control aspects of this child's life to mold them to fit that role. Okay, they're going to be a representation or an extension of the dysfunctional parent. So the dysfunctional parent at some point could say, see, I'm not a bad parent because I raised this one. Okay, and this will shift the negative attention to the black sheep of the family, essentially. Okay, so the golden child is the perfect child. They're the child that could do no wrong. No matter what it is that they do, they'll always be the perfect child in the eyes of that dysfunctional parent or dysfunctional parents. Okay, in the golden child situation, we have two types also. Okay, we have the natural golden child, which is usually the most favorite child, the most pampered, who get the lion's share of the parent, whatever the dysfunctional parents have to offer. Or we could also have a hero child. Okay, so that's the golden child, guys, whether it's a natural golden child or the hero child, which is a child who was not initially a golden child, but through hard work and dedication, they were able to accomplish so much success for themselves that they became the apple of the parent's eye. Okay, so the golden child could be one of these. It could be a natural golden child or it could be a hero child. But nonetheless, the golden child always has animosity towards the black sheep of the family. Okay, and as I said, this child is the one who is being groomed to essentially represent the dysfunctional parents or represent the dysfunctional parent. Okay, now let's look at the black sheep, guys. The black sheep, as we discussed previously, guys, is the family garbage can, essentially. Okay, they are the child that gets blamed for everything that goes wrong within that family. Okay, every time the family is in some kind of trouble, they will point the barrels at the black sheep as being the cause. Okay, because typically the black sheep is not like their siblings. Okay, they are the different child. They are the child that is nothing like the rest of the family. Okay, they could have been born with a disability, but that aside, they're usually the peculiar one. They're the one that stands out. They could have odd features. They're very highly intelligent. They're usually an empath. They're usually highly empathic, very kind, very quiet, very giving, very generous. They embody a lot of positive qualities. And because of this, guys, they garner a lot of unwanted attention from their siblings. Okay, their siblings usually tend to hate on the black sheep because they feel like the black sheep embodies all the positive traits and positive qualities that they themselves wish they had. So they will always be pointing the barrels at the black sheep every time there's something wrong within that family. Okay, oftentimes their siblings may do things and then blame it on the black sheep just to get them in trouble. Okay, this is how it starts. They single them out, they pick on them, they abuse them, they bully them, and over time the black sheep will resort to self-isolating and engaging in independent individual activities to avoid being subjected to further pain, to avoid being subjected to further abuse. Okay, because deep down they start to feel like they're not part of that family. They start to feel like they don't belong to the family because of all the harsh treatments that they typically receive from their siblings. Okay, they essentially don't get celebrated much. They don't get included in a lot of things. They don't get invited to certain functions. Their opinions are never really valued. And the black sheep is sometimes referred to as the unwanted guest or the uninvited guest. Okay, they're the ones that sticks out like a sore thumb within that family. Okay, they're the ones that it's like, this one is just different. He's not like none of the other members of that family. Okay, so they end up picking on them, and over time, like I said, the black sheep will resort to self-isolating to shield themselves or to soothe themselves. Okay, you could imagine the biblical story of Joseph, who was sold into slavery by his jealous brothers. Okay, because they were jealous of him for him being the father's favorite, they sold him into slavery to get him away because they felt like he was getting all the attention or whatever the case. But then later on, it was through Joseph that entire family was granted passage when disaster struck them. Okay, so I said that to say this, guys. The black sheep at an early age is charged with the responsibility of sustaining that family because they become the garbage can within that family, as everything that happens, everything that's bad within that family, they will look to the black sheep to blame. Everything that goes wrong within that family, they will look to the black sheep to resolve. Okay, and so they'll grow up thinking that they are responsible for sustaining that family. Okay, they'll grow up with this in the back of their mind that they have to make sure that the family is on the up and up, because if the family ever goes down or if things should ever not work out, they will become the bad child, right? Because they've been labeled as the bad child all along. Okay, so this is how the black sheep approach life. Okay, but one thing that happens is that as the black sheep begins to self-isolate, to focus on themselves and soothe themselves and avoid being subjected to further pain, they build themselves up. Okay, they develop their independence this way. Okay, so as they mature into adults, they are essentially able to function without much help from the family, without much support from the family, because they've become accustomed to being by themselves. Okay, they've become accustomed to living in isolation. They've become accustomed to fending for themselves. So as they mature into adults, they embody this quality. Okay, and they're able to take care of themselves. They're able to fend for themselves without involving the family. Okay, and here is where the problem lies. Okay, between the black sheep and the golden child. Okay, because the golden child is essentially an extension of the dysfunctional parents. Huh? Because the golden child is being groomed and being molded to become a representation of the dysfunctional parents, they never ever fully gain their independence. Okay, they never fully grow into their independence. They never fully mature into their independence, because aspects of their lives are usually controlled by the parents to fit that role. Okay, to fit that favorite child, that golden child, to fit that representation of that dysfunctional parents. Okay, so they never gain their full independence. Okay, unlike the black sheep, who is able to free themselves and isolate themselves and go on with their lives without the family's involvement, the golden child is always going to be an extension of the dysfunctional parents. Okay, they're always going to need the dysfunctional parents around them. Okay, and this is where the problem lies. Okay, and this essentially is why I'm saying they're headed for doom, because throughout their lives, they're always going to need that shoulder to lean on, because they've been sheltered essentially, right? So they never really see anything outside of it. Okay, they never really see anything else outside of the dysfunction. Okay, so over time, they will grow to accept the dysfunction as normal. Okay, and so they themselves will end up becoming dysfunctional, sometimes narcissistic, because that's all they've been around their entire lives. That's all they've known their entire lives. So they've accepted that as normal. Okay, the black sheep, on the other hand, is the truth teller within that family. Okay, the black sheep will notice all of the toxic cycles, all of the patterns, all of the negative behaviors that's going on within that family. And although they may not speak on it because they've been warned not to speak on it, or even sometimes they may get punished if they were to speak on it. Okay, so the black sheep usually may not voice their opinion on these things, but they know what's wrong and what's right. Okay, they could identify what's wrong and what's right, and this is something that the golden child is not able to do. This is something that the golden child cannot see, because everything that they've seen or everything that they've known is that dysfunction from the dysfunctional parents. Okay, they never got to venture out of that, all right, to experience anything different, unlike the black sheep, who is usually out on their own, doing their own thing, experiencing different things and seeing everything that's wrong within their own family. Okay, so here's what's going to happen should the black sheep ever raise this concern about the dysfunction within the family. The golden child will rise up to defend that. Okay, because that's essentially all they have known. Okay, should they ever raise their concern about the toxic cycles, the dysfunction within the family, the golden child will rise up against them and attempt to defend that, because they will feel attacked, because that's all they've known. Okay, And so this will continue the friction between these two roles, guys. And what makes it worse is that if the black sheep were to decide to detach from the family unit and go on to live their own lives, the golden child will stop loving them, okay? While the black sheep loves the golden child unconditionally, the golden child's relationship with the black sheep is usually conditional, and the condition is that they have to remain as the black sheep of the family. They have to remain in that dysfunctional family as the family garbage can, so the golden child can be the ultimate golden child, okay? To keep the spotlight off of them and keep it on the black sheep as the bad child, right? And so when the black sheep decides to detach from the dysfunctional family unit to focus on themselves and their lives and heal themselves, they then don't receive the same love from the golden child. They don't have that same relationship with the golden child, because now the golden child cannot be a golden child. Their flaws and their insecurities and their shortcomings will all be highlighted for everyone to see. It will be highlighted for the dysfunctional parents to see that their perfect child is not perfect after all. Okay? And so this is another side of that coin, why these two roles are always battling. Okay? But as I mentioned, guys, the golden child will essentially mature into a similar version of the parents, because they've become the favorite of the parents. They've been groomed to become like the parents. They've been groomed to act and behave just like the parents. And so oftentimes they may be toxic themselves. Okay? They adopt this toxic mentality. If the dysfunctional parents is a narcissist, then they may pick up that. They may become narcissistic themselves. And so what happens now is that they will live their lives essentially just like the dysfunctional parents, okay? They will go out, and they will get in toxic relationships. They will get in one-sided relationships. They will get in codependent relationships, because that's all they've known. That's all they've been accustomed to. That's all they've seen. They'll get in abusive relationships, and they will suffer later on down the line, because they think that's normal, okay? Because that's all they've been accustomed to seeing. That's all they've been able to witness throughout their lives. So they will feel like this is normal. And so they will begin to model their lives after this, all right? And it will get even worse when the dysfunctional parents are no longer there for the golden child to lean on. When the dysfunctional parents are no longer there to offer the golden child the support that they've been offering them all along, okay? The golden child will essentially feel empty. They will essentially feel abandoned. They will essentially suffer because they've gone through their entire lives depending on the dysfunctional parents to be there, looking for the dysfunctional parents to be there for them every step of the way. Okay, so at some point, guys, especially when the dysfunctional parents are no longer around, it will affect the golden child in a very negative way. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, if the black sheep should leave, which they will post-awakening, okay, post-awakening, the black sheep will have to detach from that dysfunctional family unit to heal themselves, to process their truth, to process everything that they've come face to face with, the new reality that they've come face to face with, okay? And this will cause a lot of friction within that family, okay? Because the golden child is always going to look for the garbage can, okay? They're always going to look for someone to point the finger at. Along with the dysfunctional parents, they're always going to be looking for someone to point the finger at. All right. But at that point, guys, the black sheep will no longer be around to accept the toxicity. The black sheep will no longer be around to accept the negative energy from the golden child or the dysfunctional parent or any other members of that dysfunctional family. Okay. So now, as I mentioned earlier, the real battle for the golden child begins when the dysfunctional parent is no longer around. Okay. This is when their true character will be revealed. This is where the true them will be revealed, when they essentially are put to the test of being by themselves, when they're put to the test of being independent. Okay. They're always going to look for the dysfunctional parents to be there to support them. They've supported them through their lives, that when the dysfunctional parents are no longer around to support the golden child, their true nature will essentially be noticed, that they're the injured little child who never gained their independence, who never really matured into their independence, who never really matured into themselves. Okay, they have always been an extension of the dysfunctional parent. And so the true battle is when the dysfunctional parents are no longer around and that golden child is left to face life on their own. Okay, so the golden child is doomed, guys. They're doomed. They never actually got the opportunity to step out of the dysfunctional family to heal themselves, or they never really got an opportunity to step out of the dysfunctional family to mature into their independence. And so they're doomed whenever they are left alone. They're doomed whenever the dysfunctional parents are no longer around, and they're always going to look for someone to lean on. And this will lead to them forming unhealthy relationships. This will lead to them forming toxic, one-sided relationships all throughout their lives. So if you identify as a black sheep, then rest assured that all the friction that you're receiving from the golden child is a result of all of this. Okay, they've been in competition with you, but even though you are not concerned about the competition, you are more concerned about sustaining the family. The golden child is more concerned about fitting that role as the perfect child, as the model child. Okay, and so rest assured that all of this friction that the golden child has towards you is out of jealousy, it's out of envy, and they are actually at risk in their lives. You are in a much better position than they are. They are actually at risk at collapsing at some point in time. All right, so wish them well. Know that they're doing all of this because they're injured deep down. Okay, deep down, they're injured little children, and you're not. You have the opportunity as the black sheep to detach from that family and heal yourself and get on with your life. Okay, so I hope I made it clear enough, guys. If you identify as a black sheep, then take a moment to share your thoughts and your experiences in the comment section. And also, if you're new here and you find value in this, then drop us a like, and also stick around, because it should be another video or playlist popping up somewhere around my head here. Stick around and get more information on a spiritual awakening journey. Get more information on narcissism. Other than that, I'll leave this one here. Until next time, guys, peace, love, and more life.